Here Comes the Judge is a 1968 song written by Shorty Long, Billie Jean Brown, and Suzanne DePaz, and it was performed by Shorty Long. The original version of the song was Shorty Long's biggest hit, and it reached number 4 on the U.S. R&B chart and number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. Now, the interesting thing about this is that this was the first hip-hop song slash rap record way before rap or hip-hop became popular, or even before there was a name for it. Meaning back in the 60s, the word for talking was rapping. In fact, guys would say, yo, I want to go rap to this chick. And that simply meant that they wanted to go and talk to her. And I'm going to let you hear a little bit of the clip of the version by Pigmeat Markin, who was actually the inspiration for the song, based on a skit that he did in a show called Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. And the skit was called Here Comes the Judge. And after Long's version, then Markham put out a completely different version of the same song. And it was 2 weeks after the version by Long in 1968. The song was also recorded by a group called the Magistrates. So back then there was a lot of song jacking, which in later years when rap music became popular, people would call it biting, and it was considered inappropriate to take someone's song and then regurgitate it into your own, but it was done. So that was the first hip-hop record. So 11 years after Here Comes the Judge, in 1979, the song that's credited with being the first rap record is a song that was made by the Fatback Band called King Tim III, and the subtitle was Personality Jock, and it went a little something like this.
Grab your hands and you stomp your feet, cause you're listening to the sound of the show shot beat. I'm the King, the T.
Okay, so it's interesting to note that although it did have that swag, which they weren't using that word back then, a lot of songs that came out after this, including the one that came out a few months later, which was the Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight, carried a lot of the similar beats and even used a lot of the style and and even some of the words were recycled in future hip-hop songs. But this was not the first. So those of you who think that this was the first rap, it was not. 2 years after Shorty Long's Here Comes the Judge, the Last Poets put out what a lot of people refer to as spoken word poetry. But in effect, it was set to music, so it was indeed a precursor to rap. And the song they put out was the Last Poets album. And one in particular that comes to mind is the song Niggers Are Scared of Revolution, which I feel is directly synonymous with the style of Public Enemy, who, as you recall, came on the scene very revolutionary. And here's just a little clip from the Last Poets, and tell me if you agree.
Niggas are scared of revolution, but niggas shouldn't be scared of revolution.
So that's all I can play of it, obviously for copyright reasons, but I think you get my point, is that, the origins of hip-hop go deep. They go deeper than what is publicly made known. In fact, a lot of history is a lie. So don't be surprised, you old hip-hop heads like me, that there's more to this than is let known. And it goes even deeper than that. During the same time period, there was a comedian called Rudy Ray Moore, who had a very trendy and popular skit that he called The Signifying Monkey, and he made a record out of it. So, is that actually where rapping over music started? Well, let's take the time capsule even further back. As an African myself, I would be remiss in not letting you know that rhyming as a tradition can be traced all the way back to the griots, who maintained thousands of years of history through the oral tradition of rhyming in West Africa, in particular. There was always the use of chanting and drums, and then chanting actually was the evolution of where the whole toasting thing came with, when Kool Herc actually started in the Bronx, him being a native of the islands, and many islanders, Caribbean people, are aware of their direct roots to Africa. And so obviously we have many things in common in terms of our cultures, and the style of toasting, which is rhyming over a record, talking, in doing a toast to someone, and you're talking and you make the words rhyme. There was a DJ called Frankie Crocker who actually used to do this as he was leaving the air every day. He had a little saying that he would rap at the end of his shift to the listeners, and it was a toast. It was a toast to the listeners, and it went. I'm not sure if I can pull it up, but it was a pretty interesting thing, and I'm going to try to find it while I'm talking to you so that you can hear what he said, because it was really, it was nice. It was cute. It was classy, and let's see if we can find it. Okay, here it is. He used to say, "May you live as long as you want, but not want as long as you live. And may you live to be 100, and I live to be 100 minus a day, so that I never knew good people like you passed away." And that was how he ended every single show. He was popular on WBLS, the great Frankie Crocker, rest in peace. And so there you have it again. There was rapping, and let's see where we can go with this. And for those of you who think that gangster rap started in the 90s, well, surprise, surprise, it actually didn't. There was a gangster rap, but it wasn't called that at the time. It was a song called The Hustlers Convention, which was by someone called Lightning Rod. And this was put out way before hip-hop officially even began. In fact, the song was released in 1973, and it went a little something like this.
You could feel all the tension building up at the convention as the hustlers began to arrive. Must have been 9,000 or more that came through the door. The time was 11:50.
As the music genre picked up after the 80s and the popularity of it grew, it changed the game considerably. The game in hip-hop changed, as a matter of fact, more than once. In the 80s, in the late 80s through the early 90s, there were a lot of novelty rappers like Weird Al Yankovic and Malcolm McLaren, who was the founder of the Sex Pistols, and he was also responsible for the mega rap hit Buffalo Girls. And then there was the Rapping Duke, who could forget him, Da-ha, Da-ha. And Beastie Boys, Debbie Harry even had a rap, Tom Tom Club had a great rap, genius of rap. And then there was Vanilla Ice, who, despite him biting his music, he was a great dancer, and the rhyme was actually pretty cute. People were feeling it. It was his only hit, but he got fame and monetary compensation for his efforts. So and this also helped bring the game to a pop audience. So everybody and his mama was rapping, and that's how it. That's when it really began to fly. And as time went on, it was upgraded. As a matter of fact, in Harlem, folks who had been wearing Dapper Dan, Puppy, Tracy Holt, Carl Kanai, Sir Benny Miles, Shirley Shivers, and Fubu were now wearing Polo, Gucci, Nike, Versace, and Louis Vuitton. So they went from, loyalty to the hood and the hood designers to the big name designers who probably didn't even know they existed, but almost every hip hop record label in the 90s gave these designers a corporate shout out on the record. And people were watching and they were copying and they were buying what hip hop was selling. So imagine how wealthy the community would have been had we given back by, instead of giving these designers who were already wealthy and who certainly didn't need our promotion shout outs, but instead shouting out the hood designers like Kanai and Tracy Holt and Puppy and Dapper Dan and Benny Miles and Versace, not Versace, but, the hood designers, Shirley Shivers and Fubu, as opposed to Versace and Vuitton. Okay. Hip-hop became commercial. Companies like Coca-Cola, Nike, and all the malt liquor companies use hip-hop themed commercials and advertisements. And it wasn't long before anybody could get a hip-hop record deal, especially in the 80s. The deals were given away like welfare cheers. But by the 1990s, the labels started getting more selective. And, you actually had to have some talent. And it also didn't help that groups like Eric B. and Rakim threw away the $300,000 advance they were given to go and record on jewelry and partying. But they forgot about production costs. So, that's when the executives started pulling back on the advances. And this is why, to this day, it's very hard to get a very large advance, especially to an unknown act, because the labels don't want to see their advance money on your clothes and your cars and your jewelry. You're not going to get a $250,000 advance today. Very rarely will a act get that much money up front, and this is why. So now, instead of, as a matter of fact, instead of signing single acts, the labels are looking for crews, and this is what also transpired in the 90s. It became very popular to have a whole crew, and so people, instead of looking for a record deal, they were actually looking for distribution deals, and this was how companies like Death Row, Murder Inc., No Limit, Cash Money, DTP, Slip and Slide, and all these others came to the table, self-contained with in-house production teams. And finally, black people, we began to learn the business end of the business, which is where the main money lies. And by the new millennium, the game had changed again, and popping bottles became the new anthem. Getting drunk and out of control was now getting a pass. And gone were the days of Melly Mel, a Grandmaster Flash, and the Furious Five with white lines. Instead, Blame It, the Jamie Foxx song featuring T-Pain in 2009, gave folks a license to ill. Blame it on alcohol. And, today, hip-hop is just one big booty-popping, make-it-rain affair, or should I say twerking, make-it-rain affair. And it is very influential on our youth. So I'm going to wind down here. I think I've pretty much given you the history of this. And, don't take my word for it. Do your research. And you'll see that I did mine. Thank you. Thank you for watching. God bless you. I really do appreciate all of you. The haters, I love you too. My subscribers, I really, really love you. And just people who tune in and watch the videos, thank you, because it is, by divine purpose that I do these things. And this one I did because I felt that it was important to rewrite history in regards to hip hop, because a lot of people actually do not have a clue as to what they're listening to or where it came from. Its humble beginnings, its spiritual beginnings. The griots were very spiritual, God-fearing people. So this is what it came from. And of course, like anything else, the enemy has managed to pervert it for his own purposes. Okay, I'm going to end here. And Yeshua, I ask that you cover the people who are watching this video. Watch them as they go back and forth in their daily lives. Monitor the youth. Help the parents and the elders to monitor the youth and their language and their behavior and what they're listening to and what they're watching, and even the video games that they're playing. Of course, not all youth are influenced by these things. There are those who know how to use discretion, and they have discipline in their watching time and listening time, and they also make time to study and to do the things that they need to do to become contributing members of society. But I am praying, Yeshua, for those who don't know how to make the separation and who live this all day, every day, and act out what they think is the proper method of going about life, because their favorite rapper says that this is what should be done. And they don't know that these people who are making records and who have these $1 million deals, they're not living that lifestyle. They're just rapping about it. And some of them never lived that lifestyle. So Lord, give the youth discernment. I was young. We were all young. So I'm sure, I know for a fact that I did a lot of things in my youth based on my influences. But I thank God for deliverance, and I thank God to be still here and able to talk about it. So I'm talking to you people who are young and still have your whole lives ahead of you. Make wise choices. Father, in the name of Yeshua, help them to make wise choices. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe.